There's no secret formula for better service throughout the customer journey. But there is the all-new Service Hub from HubSpot. It makes it infinitely easier to scale customer support and increase retention. By bringing service and support together in one powerful platform, you can deliver the best experiences for your customers and your teams. Free up time for your reps to focus on complex issues with an AI-powered help desk. Proactively drive retention with customer health scores that help keep your business ahead, stopping churn in its tracks. And give your entire go-to-market team the data they need to operate as one unified, powerful front. Also, you can easily support, strengthen, and grow your customer base. Secrets out. HubSpot Service Hub is a game changer. Visit HubSpot.com/service to do more for your customers today. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Thursday, May 30th. I'm John Weigell here with Juliet, Bennet, Reseller, and this is the Hustle Daily Show. Furiosa, a Mad Max saga, and the Garfield movie, together, ushered in the worst weekend in Memorial Day box office history in around 30 years. Although we've seen triumphs this year like Dune Part 2, theaters and cinema companies are not doing too great in the battle against streaming. But can four-dimensional and experimental viewings turn the tide for them? We'll get to that in a bit, but first let's give you the hits and headlines in business and tech. To start us off, PwC is OpenAI's first reseller and largest enterprise partner. The firm, which invested about $1 billion to scale its AI capabilities, will give ChatGPT licenses to over 100,000 employees in the UK and US and sell OpenAI products to its clients. But that's not all the OpenAI we got today. Do not fear. Sam Altman and his husband signed the Giving Pledge, promising to donate at least half their money to philanthropic causes. Altman is worth a reported $2 billion despite having no stake in OpenAI.
Do you think he will give some of that money to people whose jobs will be replaced by overeager bosses who want to get rid of their employees and replace them with the AI that he built?
Honest answer, no.
Okay, fair. All right, just checking.
Over to the gaming industry, Engine Owning has to pay Activision over $14.4 million for making Call of Duty cheats, the use of which are against the game's terms. This follows two settlements worth $3 million from people tied to the company.
Now I feel really bad for using cheats to get through Elden Ring, which I understand is not an Activision game, but listen, it was too hard.
You too could be the product of a $14 million lawsuit.
I'm sorry, Elden Ring.
Over to cars, Nissan issued a, quote, do not drive notice for about 84,000 older cars, warning of faulty airbag inflators that can, quote, explode, which doesn't sound too great. Juliet, what do you make of this?
Oh, well, I think everyone knows what I'm going to say if they've been listening for long enough. What a great time to invest in public transit. For those of you who are like, please stop. Why are you like this? Wow, yeah, that sounds really awful. Imagine a safety feature that just actually explodes in your face. This is, wow. Yeah. Not great.
Not great. I like how it's also the older models, which means recalling is going to be hard, if not impossible. Yeah. If you got a Nissan, I don't know, bring a bag of popcorn with you wherever you go. Strap it to your head.
Is that going to help? Wait, okay, you mean like it's popped, not just the kernels?
No, not just the kernels. Fully popped.
But you could put the kernels in the airbag, and then when it explodes, it would explode as popcorn.
It'll fill your car with popcorn.
All right, well, there you go. Nissan, call us.
Innovation starts here. And finally, Walgreens joins Target, Walmart, and Amazon in dropping prices to lure back everyone rightfully furious about the $11 tubes of toothpaste. Like, what are we doing, everybody? We know Walgreens' apology is sincere. Its 16-inch Squishmallow pillows are just now $20, and they were previously $24.99. So all these companies look to be making some rapid price decreases, which finally, thank God, right?
And also, it looks like we actually have our solution to the previous issue. Replace your airbag with the Squishmallow.
Easy.
Done.
The Nissan Squishmallow, only at Walgreens. All right, on to the main story today. People love choosing streaming over visiting movie theaters. I know I do. It's cheaper and more delicious depending on your snack haul. So how can movie theaters attract customers back to the big screen? Juliet, can you first talk about how badly last weekend went for the box office?
Apparently terrible. I actually did go see Furiosa, a Mad Max saga, as a longtime Mad Max fan.
Oh, yeah.
And I was actually shocked that this should have been a blockbuster of a movie, looks incredible, cost $168 million to make, somehow only narrowly beat the Garfield movie, which no offense to cats who love lasagna, but come on, how?
I don't know.
I know the Garfield movie is a family film, but it was a holiday weekend and you don't want to go watch a 2.5-hour demolition derby, clearly the American pastime. But yeah, it was a terrible weekend. It was actually the worst performing weekend in about 30 years, except for 2020, which is only because every movie theater was closed.
Right.
I think the estimates were initially Furiosa got $32 million over that whole 4-day weekend, and Garfield ended up with $31.1 million. So not a lot when you're making a $138 million movie.
Yeah, not a lot. Does not help that. The fact that Garfield got a very close second place is also surprising to me. I feel like they run a Garfield movie every 4 years or so, and it just kind of has that return for them.
Right. This is the reverse Barbenheimer. You have these two very different movies, and they might both do well, but neither did.
Garfiosa? Is that what we're running with?
Yeah. You know what? I would watch a Mad Max cat movie now that I'm thinking about it.
100%. I'm sure they're available at very hard to find conventions across the U.S. Now, okay, both of these did very badly over Memorial Day weekend, which is very surprising, at least on the Mad Max category. I feel like every iteration of that movie does really, really well. Mm-hmm. This year, not so much. Do you have any big reasons for these movies not performing as they would normally?
So according to The Wrap and a couple other industry publications, there's kind of a lot going on that's creating this box office slump, which is not just tied to these two movies. The Fall Guy, everyone thought was going to do well because Ryan Gosling's got, a lot of momentum from the Barbie movie. He's got Kenergy. Everyone loves Ryan Gosling. Why wouldn't you go see The Fall Guy? Some of the reasons are we've got a more selective audience. They're not really going out as much. They're staying at home. They're enjoying streaming. In this economy, people are not willing to go out, buy a movie ticket, and then spend $17 for a small soda and a popcorn. They're just not. Mm-hmm. We're also dealing with a delayed movie schedule. A lot of stuff that was supposed to come out earlier is not. That is due to, of course, the strikes in Hollywood. So just a lot of things playing against the box office, both in terms of what's coming out and people's willingness to leave their homes.
Yeah. And since the onset of the pandemic, it seems like movie theaters have been really struggling. We talked previously about 2020 just being an absolute bad year for all of these theaters and cinemas because nobody was coming to see movies. So now we're 4 years removed from the onset of the pandemic. And it seems like some movies are doing really well, some really aren't, but theaters are still kind of struggling to get that money back. What are they doing nowadays, or what are they going to try to do to get those customers?
So there's something kind of interesting that Regal Cinemas is doing. Regal's parent company, Cineworld Group, is actually recovering from a pandemic-induced bankruptcy. And one of the things that they have been trying to do is open these theaters known as 4DX, which gives you an experience you can't get at home unless you have a really cool roommate who's willing to do a lot of really weird things in your house for you. Essentially, these theaters, they're a little bit more expensive, but they have effects. So your seat moves like you're on a roller coaster, or maybe more accurately, like a dark ride at Disney or something. It can vibrate, it can sway, it can twist, it can move with the movie. There are also atmosphere effects. So if it's snowing in the movie, they can make it feel like it's snowing on you. They've got rainstorms, they got fog, wind, lightning, temperature changes. Bubbles apparently is something they can do. And they can also add scents. So it can smell the way you think the movie might smell, which could be good, could be bad. I'll give you a few examples. So if you went and saw Furiosa this past weekend in one of these theaters, there would have been moments where fog rolled into the theaters. If you've seen the recent Mad Max movies, you know that oftentimes during the war scenes, they'll throw these big paint flares that explode in the sky. They're very visually striking. And so if you're in one of these theaters, when that happens, there's going to be fog in your theater. During the motorcycle and car chases, the seats will vibrate. There's scenes where audiences will be spritzed in the face with water, which could be cool. It could be, I don't know. How much water is the question. And also there are scenes that smell like gunpowder, as if you're right in the middle of the action. If that's not appealing to you, perhaps knowing that during Wonka, the theater smelled like chocolate would be more appealing to you. Wow. So that's just a handful of the things that they can do with all of these different machines and effects and lights and vibrating haptics underneath your chair, all sorts of things.
Yeah, it seems like a graduated version of that seat at an arcade that you put in $250 for, and then it just kind of shakes you around a little bit and just spritz things in your face while you're on a pretend roller coaster. But a fancy version of that.
Yeah.
And it seems like a lot of these are not in the United States, although there are a few.
Right. Most of these are actually in Europe and Asia. The company that makes them is a South Korean company. But there are a few in the US and Canada, and 50 of them are operated by Regal Cinema. So it's kind of Regal's thing to bring this domestically.
Mm-hmm. And how do these theaters do in comparison to a normal theater financially?
So here's the thing. The tickets are about $8 more, but for people who are willing to spend that, they do get the experience. In 2023, US locations made $53.4 million in sales. That's not a lot. It's only a little bit more than Furiosa made, like $20 million more than Furiosa made in one weekend. But there have been some standouts. Avatar: The Way of Water, which came out in 2022, was actually this company's biggest film. That made $83.6 million globally, which is only about 3.6% of its total box office sales, but it is its best performing film. And these tend to be popular with people who are younger. So like adults under 30 and kids love them, I'm sure. And then, people who like premium format. So the kind of people that are already going to IMAX or 3D movies will be inclined to also choose this type of experience.
Yeah, it seems to be a growing experience in that it's like an amalgamation of an amusement park and a film experience. And we even talked about yesterday, I talked with Sarah about restaurants that are picking up dining experiences now with VR and stuff. So it seems like these entertainment industries are going in more of a direction of bringing in some technology and bringing in some extra experiential ideas to kind of make you come to them and make you experience them. But something with Dune, for example, like Dune Part 2.
Yeah, they did a Dune one.
Yeah. Oh, they did. Oh, that's great. Oh my God. Did they pelt sand at you? I hope not.
I guess like when he's riding the worm, it's like the seats are vibrating, which, that's probably pretty cool. Yeah. I would be into it.
No water though, wind, probably. Wind.
No, you can't be putting water in a movie theater in this world.
That.
I mean, you can't even cry in Dune. That is what a precious resource it is.
That's right. People I've spoken to, especially in the film space, have told me that they would pay extra, and they have paid extra to see movies like that in IMAX or movies like that in a more experiential way. Is that just where film is going?
I think maybe. I think what we are seeing broadly is this push, like you were saying, talking about the restaurants. You have to give people a reason to go do something out in the world, because people got real comfortable sitting at home and having all of the creature comforts there. And with inflation and people being more discretionary about their spending, it's like, well, why would I go see a movie that's not going to be super spectacular that I could watch on a plane or that I could watch on my TV at home?
Right.
Why would I go to a theater for that? And I think this is a potential way to get people out, but it also kind of has to be the right movie. And you would think Furiosa would be the right movie. But people really didn't go see it, though they did go see Dune. And even though Barbie doesn't necessarily have a lot of moments where you would think, yeah, I want to twist around in my chair and get splashed in the face with water, it was this cultural phenomenon where people were dressing up and going in big groups, and they were doing the whole Barbenheimer thing. So I do think we are moving towards experiences you can't get at home. I was looking for numbers on this because I went to a new theater. I went to an iPic for the first time because there's one right by my house. And it's a more expensive ticket. But the whole thing is that it's a dine-in theater. But unlike the Alamo, they're not really strict and yell at you.
That's nice.
So, and there were like 2 seats left. So my friend and I went. And it was super strange because the seats that we got were like a 2-person beach chair. So you could stick your legs out. And so there were fewer people in our theater. And then a server came around and served us a meal during the middle of the movie, which was, I don't know. I could see people liking that, but also it does kind of interrupt the movie to like be given your bill that you have to your card in the middle of the movie.
Right.
But ultimately, I thought it was a pretty fun experience. But at the same time, I was like, it's a little bit too much. Like I would rather go to like a look theater where it's a normal chair and I just order on my phone and I don't talk to anybody.
Right.
But I have been noticing that these are the kind of things people want. They want to have a full meal in the theater, the kind of thing they can't cook at home. They want to have some sort of experiential component, like there's a photo op or there's a reason to dress up or like there's a karaoke party afterwards. I know like my Alamo was doing that after Cats, where people dress up like cats and then go sing the songs at karaoke. Because otherwise, why leave the house? And I think we're seeing this with malls too. They're putting in better food courts. They're putting in escape rooms. They're putting in VR experiences, restaurants. It's not just a meal. It's an experience. Everything's an experience.
Right.
I don't know. It remains to be seen. But, this isn't the first time someone's tried to do this. There's this movie called Matinee starring John Goodman, and it's about this guy. He's a real guy, William Castle. In the 1950s and 60s, he came out with all these like schlocky B-horror movies. And what he would do would be these gimmicks. He'd be like, oh, you got to sign this life insurance policy in case you die of fright.
Oh, classic.
And then I think his big one was the Tingler.
I love those.
And then when the Tingler got loose in the movie, he had these like vibrating devices under the chairs that would shock people. And at the time, it was like, oh my God, this is so fun, but also it's really cheesy and it's kind of like you would never see like, the New York Times film critic at the Tingler. Or maybe he went, I don't know. But it wasn't like a time where people were like, yeah, I want to do this. But I think now we're there. Everything's right. AI, everything's VR, everything's augmented reality. I think we're there. We're ready for it. The question is just like, will people pay for it? And will it be enough of a draw? Because it wasn't for Furiosa, but, people went to Dune.
Yeah, people went to Dune. People went to Avatar. So maybe it just has to be that big of a movie and that big of a cultural phenomenon to get people out. A movie you would pay for. Exactly. All right, and that'll do it for us today. Thanks for tuning into the Hustle Daily Show. We're a proud part of the HubSpot Podcast Network. Our editor today is Robert Hartwig, and our executive producer is Darren Clark. We've got a lot more tech and business coverage in our newsletter. If you're not subscribed, you'll get yourself signed up at thehustle.co/email, and we'll see you tomorrow. Hey, everybody, I got a great podcast to tell you about. It's called Truth, Lies, and Work, and it's brought to you by the HubSpot Podcast Network, the audio destination for business professionals. On this show, you can join husband and wife team Al and Leanne Elliott as they dispel myths, impart wisdom, and answer all your questions about finding, keeping, and motivating great people. They actually just did an episode with John Smith, who is the manager and agent of famous Argentinian soccer player Diego Maradona. He talks about in this episode how he was able to manage the global superstar, athlete, celebrity that Maradona is and was. It's a great listen. You better get out there and check it out. And you can listen to Truth, Lies, and Work wherever you get your podcasts.